Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Fareh Bukhari from Pakistan Party. I'm a blogger, a poet, a social activist, a political activist, a politician, a writer, journalist, and a physician. And throughout my career as a physician, I've tried my best to save as many lives as I can. And I know it takes us as humans, as physicians, a lot of effort to save one life. You're talking about hours and hours of hard work to save one life. But when it comes to armies, when it comes to wars, it takes seconds to kill people. So I've been campaigning against wars, I've been campaigning against the military-industrial complex, against the war profiteering for a while. But today I really want to talk to the international community about what's going on in Jerusalem and what's going on in the White House in regards to the Jerusalem and what happened yesterday in the United Nations Security Council session. I think I'm absolutely not surprised with how the United States vetoed the resolution that was passed in the United Nations Security Council. They have been doing that for the last 70 years. They've been supporting Israel. They've been supporting the war crimes of Israel. They have been giving complete immunity to Israeli acts of aggression, Israeli acts of terrorism against civilians, against children, against hospitals, against humanitarian organizations, against schools, against any kind of normal and humane entity. So when you talk about Jerusalem, calling it a religious dialogue, calling it a religious issue, is not what it really is. Jerusalem is a humanitarian issue. And anyone who has taken a look at the pictures of the children who suffered from the 2014 Gaza airstrikes of Israel will know what I'm talking about. That there was complete violation of all humanitarian codes employed by Israel during the 2014 Gaza airstrikes. And then in the aftermath of that, Israel continued to place a siege on Gaza and blocked all humanitarian aid, poisoned the water of Gaza, and also poisoned their food to the point that they were starving and they had no access to proper health care, to proper nutrition. And then on top of that, the safety of their children was at stake, to the point that their children were being kidnapped for organ harvesting, or they were just being kidnapped to be placed in the jails of Israel just because they dared to pelt some stones at the brutal forces of Israel. So where does religion come in all of it? Nowhere. This is all humanity. This is all about the basic humanitarian codes of doing the right thing, trying to support what is right, and trying to shun what is wrong. Being a physician myself, always trying to save lives, always trying to focus on humanity, I am talking to each and every one of you, regardless of what religion you're from, whether you're a child, whether you are an old man or a woman, whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy, whatever your ideology is, whatever your perspective is, whatever your faith is, it doesn't matter. What are you? If you're a human, you would relate to what is going on in Jerusalem and what happened in the United Nations Security Council yesterday. And you would retaliate peacefully, but aggressively, with a strong political campaign, with a strong social campaign, to stop, to put an end to this open act of brutality, aggression, violence, bullying. How Nikki yesterday expressed herself in the United Nations Security Council is deplorable. She said that the United States had the right to place its embassy wherever it wanted to. How is that even constitutional? In order to place an embassy anywhere for any country, no matter how powerful that country is, that country needs to have permission of the recipient country where it wants its embassy to be placed at. Did Jerusalem give United States that permission? Where are the records? As of the last time we checked, Jerusalem still belongs to nobody. It has been rendered as a disputed territory to be run independently by the United Nations till a final solution is called for. Israel claims for it. Israel claims that it belongs to Israel. But just because Israel claims to have ownership of Jerusalem does not mean that Jerusalem belongs to Israel. You know, what if someone gets up, a country gets up and says that Texas belongs to that country one day? How will United States react to it? Will United States say that yes, that is acceptable? You can come and place an embassy in Texas because Texas is it's okay for Texas to have your embassy because that country has the right to place its embassy wherever it wants to, even Texas, which legally belongs to United States. So how can Trump and Nikki be so condescending about this whole matter? Just listen to her tone, the way she expressed herself. She was really bullish. She was very condescending. She said that she was disgusted and insulted. Well, she was responsible for getting insulted. She brought it upon herself. She tried to fight against the normal humane code of conduct and the ethics and morality. And this is how you get a response from the rest of the world when you try to bully. You get insulted, you get humiliated. So if United States lost its face in front of the entire world yesterday in the United Nations Security Council, all the blame should be placed on United States President Trump and his United Nations Ambassador Nikki, who have technically undone years of diplomatic services of Americans in the rest of the world, who have actually put the lives of so many US diplomats all over the world at high risk, and who have severed almost all of the foreign relations that US has spent so much effort on building for all these years. Imagine being left alone in the world. Imagine being isolated. Imagine having nobody as your friend except one person who is the biggest bully in the entire school. Imagine yourself to be that person who's standing up with a bully of the school and the rest of the school boycotting you. This is where United States has come to. I've spent 20 years in the US and I've lived with the American people and I love them. I love American people. They're humane, they're kind, they're loving, they're caring. They care for humanity. And it is because I feel that there's still a lot of humanity in the United States is why I recorded this video. That I want the Americans to respond to Trump's call for making Jerusalem the capital of Israel. Jerusalem cannot be made the capital of Israel. Jerusalem is an independent land per the United Nations Charter, and nobody can claim its ownership, not till we have a peaceful solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And if the Americans fail to respond to Trump's call for making this move, then they have technically signed upon Trump's call to invade any country, no matter where that country is, just because Trump thinks he can do it and he can get away with it. What is this if not bullying? Will the Americans endorse the bullying, the threatening, the condescending, the negativity that is being portrayed by their representatives on international forums? Will they allow their president to get away with this kind of an attitude? If they do, then 25 years from now, it will be the American children who will suffer. Because if we support one act of bullying, that leads to and that encourages 1,000 more acts of bullying that could eventually reflect upon the lives of your future generation. What kind of a world are you planning to give to your children 20 years from now? What kind of an atmosphere do you want to hand over to them? What kind of a legacy are you leaving to them? A legacy where Americans stand by all the bullies of the world, where they think that if they have the power, the money, they can invade any country and put their embassy wherever they want to. And if they are countered by the humanitarian agencies of the world, they call it an insult, and they say that it will not be forgotten, and they threaten those humanitarian agencies and the rest of the world with force, with violence, with acts of aggression. Is this the kind of legacy that the founding members of the United States wanted US to be part of? Is this what your Constitution calls for? This is not the American Constitution. This is not even the international law. And I request not just the Americans, but all of the civilians of the world, regardless of their culture, regardless of their background, regardless of their dialect, regardless of their race, regardless of their religion. Jerusalem is no longer a religious issue. It is a humanitarian issue. It is a land invaded, forcefully occupied by the Israeli forces. The whole area is under siege. Top Hollywood celebrities have visited Israel, have visited Jerusalem, and found horrifying acts of oppression and atrocities being committed against the Palestinian population. So if you do not believe me, fine, do not believe me. But if you have 99 people out of 100 saying the same thing, and you still want to side and listen to the lies of one of your allies, then you have a problem. You are patronizing acts of oppression. You are patronizing acts of atrocities. And you are leaving a very unsafe world for your own children, who will look back 25 years from now and curse at you for being silent, for not responding to this kind of aggression, to this kind of bullying, to this kind of persecution. So kindly file a petition in the US court. It has to come from the American people. File a petition, file a lawsuit against your president. You did that for the Muslim ban, and you were successful in revoking it. Show the world who you really are, and not what Trump wants them to believe that you could be, because this is not who you are. You are way better than that, and your country is still democratic, and there's hope. Do not let Trump hijack your democracy in the name of executive orders. Do not allow him to do that. This is still your country. This is still your constitution. and only you have the right to decide where your country's next embassy should go to. Not Trump, not Nikki. And no one has the right to threaten humanitarian agencies and the rest of the world in your name. No one. Thank you very much.